Hi everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Texte's another podcast. Today we are joined by a very special guest, Mr. Asim Ibrahim, who is the CEO of Lakeshore Hospitality Group. He is a global hospitality professional and a certified food beverage executive with over 30 years of senior leadership and hotel management experience with Marriott International, Hyatt Hotel, and Avari Group in Pakistan. He's involved in consulting hotels across United States, Canada, and Pakistan. And today we are gonna know about his story, his amazing story, and we'll discuss the major challenges in travel and tourism industry in Pakistan and his views on the future of tourism in Pakistan. By the way, before going for any, sir, I really wanna thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule to do this podcast with us.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
So, by the way, sir, first of all, before going for any questions, can you please introduce yourself? That how you introduce yourself? Who is Mr. Asim Ibrahim for the audience?
Yes. So, Assalamu alaikum and good evening, good morning. My name is Asim Ibrahim. I'm a hotelier, a hospitality and tourism consultant. I worked with major international five-star hotel chains in North America and in Pakistan. And now I'm doing work between Canada and Pakistan, helping the tourism industry, particularly in Pakistan, on the policy and regulatory framework, capacity building, and also supporting the NTCB, which is the National Tourism Coordination Board, on their investment side. So that's a little bit of background. I have a degree in hospitality management from USA, and I worked with Marriott International, Hyatt hotels at different levels over the last 30 years or so. And now I have a consulting firm by the name of Lakeshore Hospitality Group, which is focused on capacity building, asset management, and largely on the guidance on how to improve the landscape of Pakistan's tourism industry. So that's a little nutshell.
By the way, as you just mentioned that you have a huge, I've been through a lot of articles that you have a very huge experience when it comes to hospitality sector. How this all started? Please share your story.
Yeah, it started many years ago. How I got into the hospitality industry is quite interesting because I had initially gone to US to become an engineer. And I started off with the
Wow.
engineering program. And for about a year and a half, I did that. But I always wanted to be in the hospitality sector. So I switched my majors, did not tell my parents, which was they later on found out when I was graduating that I'm graduating in hotel and restaurant management degree. So that's how it started, and I've never looked back. It's been a passion and an excellent ride so far. God's been very kind. Yes.
So wow, this is something which is really amazing.
Yeah.
Like until and unless like when you were completing your degree, then your parents came to know about that. So
Yeah.
what was their what were their thoughts that when they came to know about that you did degree in hospitality?
Right. Right. So I still remember that. I graduated in 1988, which is quite some time back. And in 1988 in Pakistan, hospitality industry hardly had any discussion. Nobody talked about it. The only thing that would come to your mind would be that you are probably a bellhop or a server in a restaurant, right? The hotels were not really given a recognition that they deserve. Tourism was happening, but it wasn't given the due industry recognition. So there was very little information and knowledge of what it all involves and entails in Pakistan. So the obviously my parents' concern was, what are you going to do with your degree and how are you going to find a job? So that was their concern. But God's been kind. I applied. I got a job in New York City, working for Hyatt hotels, which was fantastic and a great learning experience for me, to start my career at a great city like New York City, and work for a very nice hotel chain like Hyatt Corporation. So God's been very kind, and it's been 30 years, and I'm still at it and as passionate as I was before. So
Wow, that's great. So, by the way, one more thing before going for the tourism questions, like, do you people had a pressure from your parents, like, you have to become either you have to become a doctor or you have to become an engineer at that point in time when you were graduating?
yes, there was. So I went to a boarding school, and the only two avenues that you could do were either become an engineer or go become a doctor. So, and those were the professions about 3 decades ago that everybody thought about. That if you're a doctor or an engineer, you would probably have a good career. But over the last several years, the world has changed dramatically. Technology has impacted everything that we do now. Look at you. You're sitting in Ahmedabad, which is my hometown. I'm from Kehal, and I'm here in Toronto, Canada, and we're having this conversation. Particularly in this global pandemic time, things have dramatically changed. So I think there's new way of looking at it. How work has transitioned, what professions um, are out there. There was a lot of jobs and titles that never existed before, and now things. So it's an evolution, and I think it is what it is now, with all these options that everybody has. Yeah.
By the way, as you just mentioned that you are also based from Ahmedabad, I think you're a huge inspiration for all the people over here because you have a huge success story. So, by the way, you're also the founder and CEO of Lakeshore Hospitality Group. What was the inspiration behind how this all started?
Yeah.
When you
So
decided that you want to start your own business?
yeah. So about 8 years ago, based in Toronto, Canada, I decided that I have enough, energy and industry connections and experience after being with Marriott and working for about 25 years or so, 21 years by that time. I wanted to start a business of my own, doing pretty much the same thing, which was the consulting for Marriott International, which was about opening hotels, managing assets. So if you're got a hotel, your customer service is bad, I would go and help that hotel. If you're opening a new hotel, I'd go with the team and help them with the opening. You have a restaurant, you want to reposition it, new concept. I would help with that, and I played an important role between the corporate philosophy of Marriott International and the field operations. So I was that was my role, and I decided to do the same thing for myself. Um, are we still on? Yeah, because your camera just went away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So that's what I do. That's what made me move and do the same thing for myself. I realized that there wasn't much demand for that because independent hotels were not paying or didn't want to pay consultants. They all think they know what they're doing, and so I needed to grow, and it just seemed natural. And through the power of technology on LinkedIn, I got connected to some lady, and she wanted to do an interview and articles, and then their CEO found out about me, and he said, like, let's have a conversation. They were in a so now we're talking about a tech industry. So it was a tech company in hospitality space, and they needed some direction on their commercial operations. So I flew to Amsterdam, and they hired me for to be their chief commercial officer. So that opened up this dimension for me where I went from
Wow.
hardcore asset management of hotels to being in the travel tech space. And that company was doing housekeeping training, and I worked with them. That opened up my avenue to different hospitality and information technology conferences where I met, many more of my clients, and that just opened up this entire new space of technology companies which were trying to build product or service in the tourism, hospitality, service sector. But these startups didn't have the domain expertise to connect their product value proposition to the industry they were going out and targeting. Since I had the experience in the industry, I was able to speak the language and connect the dots or help them with product market validation, key KPIs, how to speak hospitality language, how to show value to the stakeholders. Because as you know, in any tech startup, it's the scale as you start scaling your business to generate revenue. So I started doing that. So that's how Lakeshore Hospitality Group started. Started with Canada. Now we have office in Pakistan and Toronto, Canada, in Islamabad, where most of the stakeholders are, and we're trying to help and do our part in improving the hospitality sector in Pakistan.
Wow, that's really great. I think when it comes to hospitality sector in Pakistan, it really needs people like you who have global experience and who can bring some value back to home, back to the industry. So by the way, when it comes to travel and tourism, it is one of the most vulnerable industries during this crisis. Globally, there was a discussion going on that sustainable tourism should be the new norm for travel and tourism. Why sustainable tourism is so important when it comes to travel and tourism, specifically when it comes to, can you please brief us a little in perspective of Pakistan?
Yeah. So it's lately there's a lot of things which contribute towards a sustainable tourism approach. But speaking more relatively, if you look at Murray, very close to Abtabad, you look at the infrastructure. I'll paint a broader picture, and then we get into a little bit more specifics of sustainability and how it, what it truly means. So, as the population expands, and Pakistan's a 220 million people market, our capacity, because tourism has never really been understood or paid attention to in terms of infrastructure growth or capacity. A road to Murray is very small. 20 years, 30 years ago, there was just one hotel in Mall Road. You could just walk over there. Now, people from Karachi and Punjab and all those, when there is a snowfall, everybody wants to go up there. Rightly so. It's their country. They want to travel and see. Um, um, but the road is still the same one which was there for 20 years ago. It hasn't expanded. The same amount of infrastructure
Yeah,
there. So imagine you have built a place for 10 people, and now suddenly 10,000 people show up. How will you sustain that operation? Your restaurant can only feed 10 people. There's 500 outside. You've got 20 hotels with 20 rooms. You've got 10,000 people looking for rooms. Your road was designed for 5 cars in 1 mile. Now there's 50 cars in 1 mile. This is the
yeah,
when you don't do a integrated sustainable planning, the capacity becomes an issue, and I think that ties or pushes it into the the next level of tourism, where when all these people go there, there's no public washrooms, they're throwing trash everywhere. Where would they go? I've traveled from Karachi. It's too bad if there's no bathroom. I'm still here now. What do I do? Right? So we have to provide, it's a yin and a yang story where you have to have the capacity, and it's important that the public sector and the provincial and the state and the federal bodies and districts they work on their infrastructure and they understand what are the needs as they try to promote tourism. Just opening another hotel in Murray is not going to help because we will continue to have struggle on our customer service. But anyway, that probably we can discuss later. But that's what I feel that our challenges with sustainability, sustainable tourism in Pakistan is. And then we're doing all the right things now. It takes time to build roads. It takes time to create awareness for people. And
and most importantly, the government is really interested in building this travel and tourism infrastructure.
Yeah, because I'm sure we're going to talk about GDP impact from tourism sector. So tourism it's probably one of the strongest drivers for economic growth in Pakistan, which would mean that it add jobs, create income, explore the country. It's just got revenue and money written all over it. We just need to continue to do that and create and provide an opportunity where we can capitalize on it.
Yeah, as you just mentioned the word GDP, like when it comes to global contribution from travel and tourism industry, it's 10.3 to 10.4% in between. But when it comes to Pakistan, according to the recent interview of Mr. Zulfi Bukhari, it's 2.8%. So what do you think? What are your views on the future of tourism in Pakistan?
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. I mean, it's about 10% global GDP comes from the tourism sector. In Pakistan, we're just under 3%, and that 7% I think is actually achievable. It can be done tomorrow, but the right steps, if taken, which is infrastructure, policy and regulatory framework, and capacity building. These three things, I think, will drive our ability as a country to drive that or to capitalize on the balance of that GDP potential that sits in that country. The other thing I'd like to mention over here is that besides the 10% GDP factor, it also has 10% or so of the employment that comes with it, which is essentially what drives the revenue side. The tourism side is really the one that I think is lacking behind from an industry perspective. From awareness perspective, I think the GDP piece will come in as we start getting more and more competitive globally. Pakistan is positioned.
You think when it comes to inbound tourism, that inbound tourism is going to affect GDP?
Right, because that's where the FDI, foreign currency is, right? Currently, Pakistan 99% domestic market. We hardly have any inbound tourism, and the reason is we are not competitive as a destination. If you look at a 3-star hotel in Orlando, Florida, or in Toronto, Canada, or in London, or in Paris, or in Africa, or in Bangkok, or in Shanghai, or in any other place, you will see that they will perform at a level that compares to our 5-star hotel. But if you look at the price of a 5-star hotel in Pakistan, they're pushing upwards of $200. That's 30,000 rupees. And you look at a 5-star hotel in Ritz-Carlton in Orlando, they're selling their room at $159. So we have to become competitive. So if I'm sitting in London and I can go to Czech Republic, or I can come to Kailash Valley, Bamburet, or I can go to Hunza, or one of the many destinations, or Shogran, which is very close to you. But if you go to Shogran, charge me $150 and you give me a service that's worth $49, how am I going to compete to a person who has the option to go to Czech Republic or to Bangkok or Koh Samui? So we have to become competitive as a tourist destination. And for that, it's critically important that we raise our infrastructure, our capacity, improve the policy and regulatory framework around how we give what is a 4-star, what is a 3-star, who decides that? Are those people trained to know all those things? So
I think training is one of the most important thing because if you go to north, every single hotel are going to say that they are 3-star, they're 4-star, they're 5-star, but actually their services are not even like the people are providing no services over there.
yeah, I think there's a significant gap of understanding of what hotel star ratings are. I mean, we're not going to get into that, but room 24-hour room service, swimming pool, employee to guest ratio, meeting space to room count, and the level of service. These are some of the key things that make the star rating of a hotel. You talk, you just can't say because you feel like it, you're 3-star. And I've had numerous conversations with people in Karachi across the country, and I've asked them, why are you calling your hotel 3-star or 4-star? And their answers were, just comic. It's because they wanted to call it. Didn't have any idea what needs to be done. And that's partly because it's an industry that mushroomed up. People just made buildings and started calling them hotels. That's not what a hotel service is. You can't just simply put a stove in a room and call it a kitchen. It's just I mean, we are extreme tourism, nature, beauty, all that. But now it's time, because our own country, if you look at it, I mean, we're sitting at about, I'd say 60 million people are under the age of 30.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to travel, right? It's easy. Motorways, accessibility, CPEC corridor, accessibility has gone up. So anyway, let's get back to your questions.
Yeah. But there is one more thing that, as you just mentioned, a lot of challenges when it comes to travel and tourism industry. When it comes to inbound tourism, and specifically when it comes to visa policy, what are your views on that?
Look, I think Pakistan's done a fantastic job in easing up the visa policy, making online and accessibility. I do feel that as more time goes by, things will get better and better. More sophistication will happen. Technology will get better. So I think from that perspective, it's fantastic that the accessibility for international and inbound, so ease of doing business, ease of coming into Pakistan is getting better. However, at the same token, we've got to make ourselves in-house destinations, hotels, attractive enough for inbound tourists to consider us as a valuable tourist destination where they would want to go. It's safe, it's secure, it's clean, it's hygienic, food is clean, staff is well trained and can deliver the service, right? So we have to be able to create those things. And that's, I think these two things go hand in hand, that you want to bring people into your house, but you have to get your house in order first.
I think this is something which is really great. Like you already mentioned that we have to make ourselves competitive. So for then inbound tourism, then we will be able to promote inbound tourism.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about, because we all been through COVID lockdown, strict COVID lockdown, how you spent your quarantine days and how you made the productive. And can you please, if there is a possibility, you can mention positive and negative impact of lockdown in your life?
Yeah. So it's a reality for almost all people that I know. Personally, what I've gone through, I had a meeting with a client in Lahore, so I drove from Islamabad to Lahore. And while I was there, I think it was mid-March, early March, the lockdown started, and then the motorway was closed. So then I didn't go back to Islamabad. And then a few weeks later, there was lockdowns in your cities. So I ended up staying there. So ended up staying there for a couple of months, and then the airline started to open up a little bit. So you realize that you become very focused on what's around you. I think that was one of the self-realizations for me, that clubs are closed, restaurants are closed, you can't go outside except for it's medical emergency or essential travel. So you started paying attention, you read a lot more. You work on your exercise, which what I did, because clubs were closed, and I like to do so. I fixed myself up. That was a great learning piece. I think that was a positive, I'd say. And it's a self-reflection, right? When you have a lot of time. My family was here in Canada. I couldn't come and visit them, so that was another frustrating part. Now I need to go back to Pakistan to start work, and there are challenges around when you can get your test result back, and whether I will be able to go board the flight or not, because my test results have not come in time to fly. So the the challenges are all around us, and I think it just the more comfortable or the better you become in managing the uncertainties, is probably going to be better and a better strategy, rather than fighting it, because most of these things are not in your control. So, key
Yeah,
takeaway was
I
self-reflection.
think there is
And
a huge learning involved. Like,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah. By the way, there is one thing which we want to know, that you also founded, you were owner of an Italian restaurant. So
Yeah.
what's the story behind that? How you started the restaurant? Because you started it from 2002 to 2005. What happened to that restaurant? If you could share a little bit of the story.
Yeah. So that was many years ago. We were immigrating at that point to Canada, Montreal. So that's when we went to Montreal. I bought a Italian restaurant and ran that for 3.5 years. And then we moved back to Orlando. I had a job with Marriott, so we sold it. But it was a great experience.
Hmm. You took an exit from that.
Yeah, took an exit from the restaurant, but I stayed in the industry because I moved to Orlando, and I had a job where I had 13 restaurants in the resort, from steakhouse to sushi to
Wow.
tempeh, barbecue to pool operations, to Italian, to all these things. So I've been around food all my life. I'm a foodie. I'm a passionate cook. I love to cook. So I consult with a lot of restaurants as well. Those who are thinking about opening a restaurant, or they have a restaurant and it's struggling. I help with the menu engineering, quality control, because I all these things I did for Marriott International, and I have a hands-on experience running and managing my own kitchen and restaurant.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've spent many years in the kitchen as well, talking to chefs and listening and seeing how they're working and what they're doing, and working with chefs and developing new menus. So yeah, restaurant business is very close to my heart.
Wow, by the way, you have a very diverse experience, and when you were sharing the story, there is so much to learn from you. By the way, when it comes to nowadays, what you are most focused on and what you are most proud of in your life, because you did so many things in life, like you were the owner of a restaurant, you worked with international big brands, big names, and now you are again founder of a hospitality group. What you're most proud of in your life?
Yeah, I think this, you know, proud of surviving actually. um, that I think one of the things that I'm really, really happy and enjoying, frustrating at times, but immensely satisfying, is that my ability to have come back to Pakistan and be a instrument in supporting the directional support to provinces and the federal bodies and independents in how to improve the travel and tourism sector of Pakistan. I really feel blessed that I left many, many years ago. I worked in a couple of continents at different levels of organization, and I brought all this experience back to Pakistan. And I can share and advise and guide and help and assist and support in the process. And it'll be great. The more and the more exciting things happen in this space, the happier I get. So that's something that's very close to me, and I feel pretty good about it.
Well, I think this is something is really great. I think Pakistan need people like you who have global and diverse experience. By the way, what is the last advice for the listeners, specifically to youth? What you want to advise them?
Yeah, I often wonder about the youth of Pakistan. There's so many of them with so little opportunities to work, and it concerns me like it concerns everybody. I've got kids who are in that category. They've graduated from universities and looking for jobs in a pandemic environment. It's become increasingly difficult. Nonetheless, if I reflect back on my graduation and from there onwards, the only thing that I think stands out is that you need to stay the course. So whatever your goals and objectives that you've defined or determined for yourself, you've got to find strength in yourself in staying the course, because you've got the same amount of chance in making it than not making it if you don't do anything about it. I think that's really important. I think the technology piece in Pakistan, there's a lot of incubation centers you belong to. Tech Valley, where Umar is, so that's fantastic. They allow
Yeah.
creative and great people like yourself to come up and do all these things. And I think what you're doing is fantastic, because it's one way to spread the word across. More people hopefully will hear, and something that I've said or we've talked about resonates with them, right? It may guide them or solve a problem, or they can reach out and say, what about this?
Yeah, there is so much to learn from every person's story. Yeah, and you have a huge success story. And when it comes to, I didn't knew that you basically belong to Ahmedabad. When it comes to people who had a success story, like, and they belong to your soil, I think that's more impressive. And
Yeah,
seek more inspiration from them. If you can do, maybe we have a vision, a big vision. We can dream big, and we can step ahead towards turning that dream into reality.
sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So, by the way, thank you so much once again for taking out time to do this podcast with us. It was really nice talking to you, and I personally learned a lot from your story. And thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.